View that our foreign editor Sophie Mokoena had with the landless people of Namibia.
The debate is sharpening in South Africa with the motion in Parliament on expropriation of land without compensation. And we've come to share our thoughts, our experiences, and compare notes with our colleagues. In Namibia, we're also pushing for the same issue, perhaps not in the same content, but in the same context. One of the things that we are saying in Namibia, for instance, is land owned by foreign and absentee landlords, which is about 189 farms in excess of a couple of millions of hectares, must be expropriated and returned to those that have lost.
Do you expropriate land without compensation, or do you
expropriate with compensation on the basis of the constitutional provisions that were made? But I was wondering why there was a fuss with the EFF introducing that motion in Parliament, because historically, land of the natives, be it in Namibia or in South Africa under the Germans or the Afrikaners, has been expropriated without compensation by virtue of laws that were promulgated both by the German colonial regime and by the apartheid regime. That today Africans have to be lectured by parties like the DA to say they are defending the Constitution was very shocking for us, because the Constitution itself provides for amendment of that very important document on the basis of established parliamentary procedures. And all what the EFF was saying was, let's discuss this matter. And I must commend the leadership of South Africa from all political spectrums, in particular the ANC and EFF and others that supported, like the UTM, to say, let's take this matter to the people to engage, because it's so important that perhaps, although we are representatives of the people in Parliament, it's important for us to gauge the genuine opinions of our people outside.
You are saying in a different context. Your context is to compensate. Where are you going to get money to compensate?
You see, that is why I'm telling you the context in Namibia is also influenced by the context in South Africa. Remember, we were also colonized by the Afrikaner regime.
Where are you going to get money to compensate?
Let me finish. These are some of the discussions that we have. First, there is the same principle of willing seller, willing buyer. That principle meant that commercial farmers had to sell, in any case, land to the state, and the state had the right as the first recipient of land. Now, that came from taxpayers' money. The question that we were asking and continue to ask is, this matter of compensation, is it on market value or is it on agricultural value? And we are saying you'll have to look at how you compensate. Is it that you are going to look at market value, which is very unevenly distributed in terms of the quality of the land, or would you now interpret compensation to mean the monetary value, to mean agricultural value? So we are having these debates. The second issue that we are saying is Namibian government has not expropriated land because these governments are really in a fear mode, fear of the Western powers, a fear of genuinely empowering those that lost land. And they are gatekeepers. They are gatekeepers of those that colonized us, took our land and took our property before. So the provision for expropriation is there, but they have not expropriated. And we are now saying, let us begin the expropriation with compensation as per our constitution, starting with foreign-owned farms. And then you take it from there. Now, we have, of course, unlike you, we do not have a restitution process. And we are saying that must also be an issue, so that those specific communities that were dispossessed of the land are restituted with the land.
How do you ensure that you address the concerns of the farmers?
Well, that is the type of question that an apologist would ask, because we can also ask, how do we forever justify the landlessness and poverty of those that lost?
So they must just be ignored.
This is not what I'm saying. You are reading things that are not there. What I'm saying is we need to start to share. How would you justify one farmer owning 14 farms in Namibia? How do you justify someone sitting in Germany or in China owning land of 20, 30,000 hectares and coming to that land once in a year for hunting purposes? How do you justify that type of approach to land ownership? And what we have said is we need to begin to expropriate. And if the conditions in Namibia, the objective conditions in Namibia, begin to tilt toward the need for us to start to say, don't compensate, we will do that. We will do that. As we speak now, a number of our people are beginning to invade farms that the government has bought, because government buys land, it lies fallow for many years, deteriorates, while the masses of the people that need land for agricultural purposes are unable to access it. But over and above that question, you have a huge number of people that have become landless in urban areas that need land, titling of their land, the little place that they stay on, a massive backlog in which young people that are professionals, the medical doctors, that are lawyers, that are teachers, are able to buy urban land but are unable to afford it. And these are some of the structural problems that we are saying should be addressed. And that includes also, for purposes of expanding urban land, that you expropriate adjacent farming land, but you limit, we argue, the money that you must pay. Now, you see, historically, the Value General's position has been very, very strategic. But in Namibia, the Value General, who ultimately decides the value of farming land, is part of the types of people that are not able to stand up and to say, this is going to be the model that we'll use to compensate. So, because our people are not strong enough to determine better ways in which we can compensate, except for market value, we get to pay expensively. But there is another problem. I think the South African judiciary has been a little bit proactive. The Constitution is a transformative document, both in Namibia and South Africa. In Namibia's context, we are hoping to go to court for an interpretation of this important matter. Does compensation, just compensation, does it mean market value? What does it mean? So our work is to look at ways that we will then institute litigation to have a determination by the courts. The difficulty, of course, is the judiciary comes from a particular school of thought, from the Western thinking that underlines Western values and Western approaches and does not help to transform society using legal interpretation as a mode for transformation. And we are saying courts must also begin to answer this question. Since historically, land was expropriated without compensation, would now, because of reconciliation, all these other values that we're talking about, would it be fair to ask a democratic government to pay compensation at a level of market value rather than at agricultural value? So this is a debate that we have to sort.
Meanwhile, Metro Police and members of the SABC